So we're implementing our prod operations, like we're implementing the CRUD operations in our app, and we stopped at delete method, right? Yeah. So we're going to continue with the delete method, after which we will add an MVC pattern to our app to make it more robust and more maintainable and more clean. Okay, so let's start. Let's begin. What do we have to do here? Okay, I'm gonna code this one from scratch. This will be also using an ID. So first thing we check if the method is delete, then check if the path URL, the path name, sorry, path name starts with /tasks/ and if it does, then what I'm going to do? Const task ID is equal to past URL dot path name that splits. Okay. Then we get the second element in the array. Then we handle errors first. We say first data from our database was equal to read database. After getting the data, we remove our tasks from the data, and then we delete a task that's given ID. Let's say if the given ID is 2, we find the task with the ID of 2, and then we delete it. So how can we go about this? Okay, we use the filter higher order function. We'll say const updated task is equal to task.filter. Then we take that particular task. Then we check if the task ID is not equal to pass, it's not equal to the given ID. Guys, task ID we found earlier, like this. We return other we filter this. That is, we remove the task with the given ID. We filter it and we make sure the ID is not equal to this one. If the ID is equal to this one, this task will be removed from our array. So after filtering it, then how do we know if we've updated our array, or let's say we've updated our database? How are we going to check that? Okay, we say one thing we will do is there are different ways we can do it, but we can do it like this. We can say if this is not a single task, this will return the whole array without this the item with the given ID. So it will say if the updated tasks dot length is not equal to the tasks we return area, area from our database. If the object size or length is not equal to the size or length, then we know that, yes, we've modified our database, we've removed that item. So we'll go ahead and then write to our database, tasks, then updated tasks. Okay, so after writing to our database, what else are we going to do? We'll send a response. First of all, taking our response object, and then with a status code of 200 with an object message of a task deleted successfully. Okay. But if we cannot find, that is, if the task length is not equal to the updated task length, then we simply send a response, taking a response object to 404 object message object return. Task not found, like this. And then we'll also handle our errors. Handle our error here. If anything goes wrong, then we send a response, taking a response object, which is 500 objects message internal server error. Okay. So I guess we're done. So let's check our delete. Let's first of all check our database. Okay, then change this one to ID of 5. And then come back here, start our server, npm run dev. Then try to delete delete method with // localhost 3000 /tasks /4 task deleted successfully. Okay, so let's check our database. That's great. So we've deleted the task with the ID of 4 and our delete method is working. That's awesome. Isn't this sweet? It is actually sweet. So now we are done with this, and this we left something undone here. We're not going to be wasting much time on this one. What is it? This thing, the ID, yes, it was giving us an issue. So let's say if task, we want to send this response. Else, we want to send this one. Okay, so now let's start our server. It's npm run dev, not save. Let's now make a request to get the task with the ID of 5. Okay. Now let's change it to an ID of 4. Task not found. We're still getting this instead of this one here. Okay. So in that case, we're just going to leave it like this. I'm not sure what's happening, and not going to debug that. We'll just leave it like this as it is. Okay, so what's next on our list? A model view controller pattern. So how are we going to do this? Okay, let's go ahead and create our folders. We create a folder for the controllers. We create a folder for the model. And then we create a route folder. Let's see how we go about this. Okay. Oops. So now we controllers, a route, then okay. What else? The model. Why am I creating this outside? Okay. This one, model, the routes. Okay. So let's move them inside the source folder. Okay, so we have our controllers, the model, and the routes. Then we have our utility folder where we can utilities, where we can write our utility functions, our helper functions that will help us in our application. And we'll see that just in a minute. Okay. So first of all, let's see what we've got here. We're going to be starting with our utility functions. And how many utility functions do we have here? I think to me, we've got send response, just the send response utility function. Okay. Now we'll come back to our utility folder and we'll create a file, send response.js. Then we come down here. Where is it? Okay. Copy this first, comment it out. Then we bring it down here. We paste it. Then we export it, export send response. We come back in our index.js file. We're not going to use it first. Let's finish extracting other things. Then in here, our model. Okay. Inside our model, we create a file of task.js. Because the reason why we're doing it like this is, let's say we have a model and we have authentication, we have task, and then we have some other things we're also taking care of. So in this case, we have authentication. We create another file of authentication where we write our authentication database logic. But in our subsequent class, we'll be dealing with Prisma. We're not using Mongoose in this course anyways. If you don't know, we'll be using Prisma because Prisma supports both MongoDB, both no SQL databases and SQL databases. So you'll be using SQL. So if you're using MongoDB, in this model is where we create your model for your database. So if you have a task, you create your model for the task. Have your authentication, create your model for the. But in Prisma, Prisma has its own special file where you can specify your database URL and your database schema. In this case, let's assume this is our database model where we can read and write to our database. Read and write, copy it, then comment it out, bring it in here, paste it. Then we export read database, and then write database. That's clean. And we're done with our model. Let's move to routes. Okay. So this is where things become trickier. In our route, we create another file name, task.js. And then we come here. And in this route, I'm just basically showing you how it works. So what we're going to do is we copy the whole server handler. Do something like this, copy the whole server handler, then bring it down here, paste it, and then export server handler. And then you import your send response because we need this send response. Send response from JS. Okay. Then we comment it out. We likely comment all of this thing out. Where is the end? I think this is the end. Okay, then we import it from our route. Come up here and then we add JS so that Node know the kind of file it's dealing with. Okay, and then in our utility folder, we create another file. That is the name, directly name.js. And in this function, we just create a function of name like this, and we export our name. Then we'll come down here and we copy this whole thing. And we bring it in here. Okay, then we return current directory. Okay. And what do we need? We need a URL. Okay. Import URL from node URL. And we also need import path from node path. Okay. So, but in this case, if you try to use this import meta URL is actually pointing to the utils folder and not the source folder. But we want it to point to the source folder so that we can get access to our database. So in this case, what we will do is we'll just give it a parameter of meta URL. And then we come down here, we'll remove this file, and then we say meta URL like this. And then we come down to our routes, and then we say dining. Oh, in our model, this is where we're getting access to our database part. Then we say something like import name from the name like this. JS. Then we say const database path is equal to name Not really. We can't access it yet because this will be pointing to the model folder. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Yeah, Mosaic, go on. Let's bring it to our index and drop it here, like so. Oops, no, not this one. We'll drop this one here, and then we say export database path is equal to die name import meta URL, like this. Export const. Okay, then we come down to our model, and then we get access to our database path, like this. Get access to our database path. And the reason why we're doing this, we want this to point to the source folder, not any other folder. So we just make it here so that it will point to our source folder, and then we export it and then we use it anywhere else. Okay, so this database, should you see database path?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
What does the double dot slash utis mean? Like, what does the double dot mean? You know, for the route slash task.js, we have one dot there, and
Yeah,
for utis, we have double dots. So, what does it mean, sir?
okay. Route. Okay, this one here.
Yes, like the double dots, like
Is it actually
from
supposed to?
import line 8, import their name from double dot.
Yeah, yeah, I can see.
Yeah.
Okay. See route. Is it supposed to be double dots? Okay. Okay. I think that was a mistake.
But I normally see double dots, so that's why I'm
Okay,
curious.
double dots means you are moving out of that folder. If you are doing something like import die name, then you do, let me show you here, dot dot slash. Can you see we're moving out of the source folder?
Okay.
Yes, we're moving out of the source folder. So we can now access package.json, which is outside of the source folder. So
Okay.
if there's another folder outside of the source folder, let's say we have ex folder here. So look at what will happen. We will want to move into the ex folder slash. We'll move out of here slash ex. Can you see the
Okay.
ex? And then we
Yes, yes,
move it. Now we can access anything that is inside of this ex folder now.
yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay. Database URL. Then we see we just export this database path, and then we say want to resolve the database URL like this. Okay. So now that we've had this in place, I think this is all code now. Let's try to use our this thing and see if it works. npm run dev. Okay, our server is up. And then let's make a request. Okay, path not found. That's true. Slash tasks. Internet server error. Okay. What's happening? Internet server error. Maybe with Okay, log. Let's not export this one. Okay, so let's check our utils folder and see if I'm making a mistake. Guy name. Okay, now let's come to index here and log this database URL. Stop the server and then run it again. Okay, slash source, and then let's log the database part. Okay. Okay, slash database slash dbjc. Okay, it's actually working. But then what's our problem? Let's go back to our, let's cross-check. Database paths index is in. Okay. Don't need any external package here. Okay. Send response. It's working correctly. And here we need, what else do we need? Okay. So we need the read and write database. Read database and then write database. We need them from our model. Yes, from our model. So let's now stop our server and run it again. Let's make our request. Still internet server error. What else do we need? What else do we need? Send response, read database, write database. Okay. Not that. Server handler. And our server handler is here. But the route, I think if you should need something, it should be in here. But let's check our file extension, JS, yes. And our route will have JS as well. And then in here we have JS as well. Database part. So in here, let's log okay, DB part, database parts. And let's see if we're getting it correctly. Okay. You can't access database path before initialization. And what does that mean? Okay. Don't work there. She has to be here. Think here. Again, database path is not defined. What am I doing? Database path is not defined. Index.js, like this. Okay, let's just log it here. Let's make it more cleaner. DB path. Then let's try to make a request so we can then, if at all the function is called, internet server error. And since we're getting an internet server error, we cannot. Okay, so what we do now is, this is part of debugging. I am happy this is happening like this. Let's just send a complete error so we know what's happening. Start the server again. Okay. An empty object. Oops. It's returning an empty object. Okay. Read database. Where should I drop this thing? It's blocking. Okay, let's do that. Read database. I don't know if that's JS. Some response JS. And this may be something very tiny. Okay, so let's do something like this. Let's come back here. And then uncomment this. You try to see something like this. And import our send response like this. Restart our server. Then send our response. Okay, we're still getting the same error. So send response. Then I'll read and write database. Okay. Restart our server. And make our request again. Localhost 3000, 3000, that's tasks. Okay, I'm still getting internet server error. And what must be wrong? Okay, let's comment this out as well. I mean, let's uncomment this one. Uncomment this one because we need to figure out where the problem is coming from. And then comment this one out. Then restart our server. make a request. Okay. Do this one. Like this. You are okay. And another one, database URL at resolve. Current directory. Let's make a request. Still getting this. We're going. What else is not here? Send response. I think the send response is working. That's the reason why it's sending back this. Okay, let's make use of the send response here. And then comment it out here. Oops, what again? And I think everything is back. Oops, I was still getting the same error. What exactly is the problem? Okay, let's do like this. Go away with this. Add or joining point module, import method, database. Okay, let's check our database. Tasks, okay. Is this request incorrect? Because when it's like tasks. Okay, let me do something like /1. Task not found. Okay. /5. Tasks. Index, yes. Tasks. Okay. So this one here is giving up task not found. Okay. Let's just say task internal server error. What exactly is the problem here? I resolve service JSON. Oh. Import fs from NodeJs. Okay. I think this must be the problem. Okay. Oops, something little. Okay, let's see, check our read and write database in our model. FS, we're using FS here. Is it here we're using FS? Yes, and what the problem is we did not import FS. Oops, can you see? Okay, so now we're going to be taking it step by step. We don't want to make mistakes anymore. Okay, first of all, we start out. Yeah, Mose, go on.
Yeah, yes, sir. How do I access the local host on Windows on terminal?
It's still the same thing.
I tried using the call and I was getting error.
And what was the error?
Ah, I can't see now because I tried it yesterday. I couldn't access it.
Okay, but was your server up and running before you tried it?
No, I just tried it and it didn't run.
It will not work now because you are not starting anything. You have to start your server first, then you try it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll go like this, and then we import name from utils name.js. Okay, now we see const name is equal. No, const current directory is equal to name import meta URL like this. Okay, now let's stop. We're going to be doing it bit by bit now. We don't want to make any mistakes. Let's start our server again. Then make a request. Okay, it's working. So I guess we're done with this one. Okay, let's leave it for now. Maybe we'll encounter an error. Let's comment this out, send response. And then we'll import send response from util send response JS. Okay, we stop our server. We start it again, and then we test our requests. Okay, it's still working. And then we do away with read and write database. Like so. And then we import read database from and write database. Like so. We stop and start our server. Index does not provide an export name database path. This database path export const database paths. Okay, start the server again. It's running. Try our request and it's working. Okay. What else? Then we need to just extract this one here. Bring it to our route. Okay, we already did that. Just comment it out and then we will. Let's see if we can automatically import it. Okay. Server handler. Then this should be at the top after this. Then we stop our server again. Run the server, then we try to access this. Okay, and it's still working. What else do we need? Okay, so right now what we're going to do is get rid of all these things here. Get rid of all these ones. Like this, and these ones. These ones as well. As you can see, our index file is looking more cleaner. Let's stop and start our server, and let's be sure that what we are doing is correct. Okay, it's still working. You can see our index file is more cleaner. You can see minimal, cleaner, and maintainable. Okay, die name. I hope we're all clear about this function. If you're confused, you ask questions. Then our model we have here. Let me delete this folder, please. Then our database is intact, our controllers. Okay, so the next is, I think the next on our list is we've implemented or we've extracted our routes. And then the next is the controllers. Task.js. Task.js. Like this. Then inside this place, inside our route, we first of all extract the get method. We keep it in a separate function. But in extracting this get method here, we have let's take this whole thing out like this. And then we'll come here. Now controllers. Then we create a function. Fetch tasks. And then we paste this in here. Okay. Like this. And then what we need is we need our response. We need past URL. And what else? This past URL and the response are coming from the fetch tags, and then we import our send response as well. JS like this. We come down here and export fetch tasks. And in here we've got no. Okay, let's make it individual. Let's see if path URL of path not found. Path not found. Like this, we have to extract all this. Bring it here, and then paste it here. Like this. Okay, then we come back to our route. Then we'll call our fetch tasks. And then it's expecting a response and a passed URL. Then let's stop and start our server. Okay, so I'm sure it will fail. Yes, because it's something we're not doing. We're not importing the read database and then the write database as well. No, we're using it, so let's just leave it like that. Send response, read database, write database, hub. Okay, so now let's restart our server and make a request. Okay, and now it's working. Okay, but then we can make this more cleaner, we can handle the fetch task separately and the fetch task separately. We can do something like, instead of copying all of this, we can just uncomment it, then come down here, then comment, copy this, comment it out, come to our fetch tasks, and then do something like this, paste it. And here we don't need the pass URL. We just need the response. And then we stop our server. We'll run it again. Then we'll make a request and it's working. Okay, so now we make another function. Fetch task. Function. Fetch task. This one is fetch tasks and this one is fetch task. Like this. And then we'll come down here in our route. Then we handle this also. Copy it, comment it out. Did we just test something without stopping our server? Because this is still working. Okay. Fetch tasks. Passing a response. And then we'll come down here. We export our fetch task. Then we paste in something. And this requires the pass URL and the response as well. Response like so. Then we come in our route. Is the route okay here? And then we say fetch task. And then we pass in our response and our passed URL like so. Okay, now let's remove this one. Stop the server. Run the server again. Make a request and it's working. So we'll remove this and this. Okay, now you can see how we're handling this. If the method is get and the pass URL, the path name is equal to tasks, then we will fetch our tasks. We call this function, then pass in an argument of response. But if the password they start with this, we just call the fetch task. We pass in the response and the pass URL. I don't need to think what you need, because when you look at your functions, you need this pass URL and you need this response object. So where are you going to get it from? You're just going to pass it as an argument to your function and then access it as a parameter, then use it. So you don't need to think too much. When you copy it, you know what you need. And you know what? We can even write some documentation to know what the response is an object. Then it's returning something. Simply returning an object as well. You see, this function fetches all the tasks, fetches and return all the tasks, like so. Okay. At para means the parameter that this function takes in, it's taking in the response, and the response is an object. It's returning an object as well. So we'll come down here and then we'll write some documentation for this one as well. Taking in a response, which is an object. It's taking another, this is a string. Pass URL is a string. Then it's returning an object. So that in the next 2 years, when you come to your code, it will be easier to understand this. or you say something like fetch task, and you do something like fetch and return a single task. And you can do something like this also. Fetch tasks, like so. Okay, so this is a good practice so that all your functions are being documented, so that anytime any other user access your code, you know that, oh, this is a function, it fetches and returns a single task. Parameter is a response and it's an object. This pass URL parameter is a string, and if this function is actually returning an object. And here it is returning an array, not an object, an array of tasks. Okay, sweet. And what next? Oh, in our route, let's handle the post. We come here, we copy this whole thing, then we comment it out. We come back here, create a function of create task, paste it in here, and in here we need a response object as a parameter. We need a passed URL. Sorry about that. We had network issues back in Okay, so we are back. Okay, the create task. We took in a response and a passed URL. And then back to our route, we will call our create. Okay, we need to export this here. Export create task. Come down here, we call create task, and then we pass in the response and a passed URL. Okay, so we stop, then start our server, come down here, then create a task. With an ID of 3, and then a title of some task, and then a description of a new task, like so. And then our domain, sorry, 3000/tasks. Okay, it's HTTP, no HTTP. Error creating tasks. Okay, so let's check. Write database, send response, create task possible. Just write database, send response, error creating task. Past URL. Write database data, read database. We're getting an error. Let's come back to index. So your route, if method is post. Response past URL. Create task. Controllers task, yes. Create fetch. Okay. Doesn't mean we did not send this correctly. Stop. Start the server again. And then try to post the ID, title, the description of the task. Okay. I think it's a mistake. Like this. I see getting error creating task. This is the error. This is the error we're getting. Error creating task. Okay, let's just come back to our route. Like this. Comment this like this. And then stop our server. Run it again. Send the request. Task created successfully. Okay, so what is the problem? Create task response past URL. Write database, read database. Error creating task. Okay. Tasks. Method post. Method equal to post. Then we call the create task, passing the response and the path URL. In our controllers, well, if passed URL partner, passed URL, the response. You are using the response here. The send response, write database, send response, create task. Send response, write database. Okay, let's try it again and see. Because I don't really know where the error is coming from, but then it's supposed to work. I'm still getting this error of creating task. Okay, let's check. You choose the model task, write database data, database path. Database index.js, database path results. And we have our database path, fs read file sync, fs write, we have our fs, our database path. String try, write data, database, write file sync, database path. Okay, so in this case, we come down here, we comment the whole thing out. No, we just comment this one out. Request. Okay, now we need the request here also, because we are getting data from the request object. We're listening to this data event and the end event. So that's where the error is coming from. And then we'll come back to our route, because I'm 100% sure this will work now. npm run dev. Then we create our task. Okay. Path name, undefined reading path name. Okay. Because I did not handle it somewhere. I did not pass the requests here. Requests, like so. Run dev. Create task. Task created successfully. Okay, so it's now working, and then we do away with this one. Do away with this one. And our route, our task route is now becoming minimal, and that's what we want. And then we will come to our controllers again. Then let's document our function. The request here is an object. The response, an object. The pass URL is a string, and it will return an object as well. Then we have a create task function that creates, adds a new task to the database, something like this. Yeah, let's just leave it like this. Add a new task to the database. Okay, so now we create another function, two functions here. So she edits, should we say replace task, or okay, let's say replace, no, edit whole task, like so. And then another function here, edit task, and the last one, delete task, like so. And then we export our edit whole task, edit task, then delete task. Okay, so now we go back to our route. The edit whole task, we copy everything in here. No, everything like this up to this point. We comment it out, and then we call our edit whole task. Then pass it the response, no a request, a response, and then a passed URL, like so. Save it, come down to our controllers, passing the request, response, then passed URL, and then we paste the whole thing in here. So we come down here, stop our server, start it again, and then we clear our terminal. Let's open our database visits, database JSON. Okay, let's do away with this because we created it twice. Okay, now we want to edit the the task with the ID of 5. Put requests with data of ID. Let's change the ID to 1. Then the title to number 1. And then the description to first on the list. And then our HTTP /local host 3000 /tasks. And then the ID, the task we want to change is having an ID of 5. Task updated successfully, and we've changed the task to ID 1, number 1, first on the list. So it's working. Then we'll come back here to our route. Then we'll do away with this whole bunch, like so. And then we say if method is put, then we call this function, we pass this, and then we handle the put method successfully. Then we'll come here again, we copy all of these, comment it out, then we call edit task, then we pass in the request, the response, and then the passed URL. Save it, come down to our tags. In here, we paste it, then we come up, taking our request, response, and then our passed URL, like so. I think that's all. Then we stop our server. We come down to our database here, and then we undo the changes. We still have our task 5. Now we start our server. We want to modify the tags, but we don't want to use the put, we want to use the patch. And we don't want to change the ID. Leave the ID to 5. In fact, you can even omit the ID, like so. We are not taking in any ID. Then we change this here to patch, and then we send it. Task updated successfully. We still have the ID of 5. And as you can see here, you can even send only the description or the title. Only what you want to update. We have the number 1 first on the list, and we still have the ID of 5, and it's working. Okay, so let's handle our delete method. We copy this as it is, like this, up to this point. Then we comment it out. Then we call our delete task. Okay, our delete task in here, route. I don't know what's in it. Need a pass URL, no requests, pass URL, and then the response. Okay, response, then pass URL, like so. And then we'll come down to controllers, then we drop it in here. Then we'll pass in our response, our pass URL, like so. I think that's cool. And we stop our server, start it again. Come down here, clear our timing. Okay, clear this. And we make a request to call delete. Then we take in http://localhost 3000/tasks/5. I want to delete that task deleted successfully. Okay, now if we open our database here, see we don't have a task any longer. Okay, that's cool. Then we come down here. We are done with our routes. We just remove this. And now we have our file. Oh, we have something to remove here as well. I was wondering why it's 75 lines. Then we do away with this as well. And can you see how minimal this is? And we don't even need this one here. We just need our controllers, create task, delete task, edit whole task, fetch tasks. Then we'll bring it in here. If the path name is task, we handle this. If like this, we handle this. And then we come create, edit whole task, edit task, and then delete task. Wow, and this is sweet. Then if you come down to our controllers, we want to, we're not going to document anything. You can document the rest, practice to do it by yourself, and that's sweet. And we have how many functions in here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're not going to change anything, actually, because they are individual functions. But the normal best practice is you shouldn't have more than 5 functions in a file. So when organizing your project, you know where and how to place your functions and all of that. You shouldn't have more than 5 functions in a file. Here we have 6, but one more, and we're just for learning purpose. So we're not extracting anything. Error is an empty object, so we see internal server error, like so. And we're done with this. And can you see these are individual functions? Fetch tasks, fetch task, create task, edit whole task. And in overview, no. In review, what we literally did was we started our project, set it up, we create a server, we create a JSON database, we implemented routing, request and response handling, CRUD operations. We started from scratch, and now we've also added the MVC pattern to our application. This is awesome. And we should learn to celebrate the little wins, because the advice I have for you is, first, if you're having difficulties understanding these things, like the entire other functions or all of this, go back to JavaScript, spend quality time with JavaScript, and make sure you understand everything in depth. And it is advisable for you to understand how things are working, how this is working manually before we get to Express. Because Express, you just need to make use of the functions or method exposed to you. You don't know what's going on in Express. But if you wish to know, you go online there, you check for their GitHub account URL, and then you chip into their code base. But I guess you will spend like a week and you will not be able to understand up to 10%, except you understand what we just did. You understand this in depth. Then if you go there, you will get to understand. But as we dive into Express, I will try to explain things. And it's what we call reverse engineering. This is not actually, what I'll be doing is not actually reverse engineering, because reverse engineering is typically looking at something that has been done, something that has been built, and then looking at it and trying to like re-implement that thing with those functionalities without looking at the code base. So I've trained myself to do that always. So sometimes I just look at those things and then this is what is going on. This is a function, this is an object inside another object, and it's called with those methods. And reverse engineering is good if you give your brain a basic understanding of reverse engineering, and that will be more easier for you. Sometimes I look at the design without looking at the Figma implementation of that design, and I only look at the design and then implement it without looking at the Figma file. And that is also a good practice, but you are not a front-end dev, you are a back-end dev, so nothing like Figma for you. Okay, so our project is up and it's complete. So now you can even use your project. So let's see, git branch dash show current. This is to show our current branch. We are still on our task manager. So what we're going to do is git add everything, and then we commit, git commit. Let's say it's a feature. I committed yesterday with task manager. Add let's see, let's just give it anyhow comment. Add delete task method like this. It's a feature. That's why I said feature. Here we already learned about this. It is documentation. You say docs. Feature is a feature. If it's refactoring, you say refactor. Then if it's a fix or a bug, or if it's writing tests, you just write test and all of that. And then you say git push, and so we are doing everything in one command, and we pushed our code to GitHub. So right now we are actually done with our task manager with Node, and we want to move to, I hope you enjoyed the task manager with Node, and we'll be moving to Express. Woo! I believe most of us have been waiting for this. Express. But let me tell you one thing. Things are beginning to get interesting, and things are beginning to get bulky for some of us. So the only advice I have for you is try to understand Node. Understand Node. Understand Node. What you've done, at least you have a basic understanding of Node. We've handled everything manually. We've used JavaScript and Node. And then when we come to Express will make things easier for us, but then we would like to know what's going on under the hood. So that's where Node is very, very important. Okay, and in Express, we're going to be introducing Express. And then after introducing Express, talk about the basic routing. And then after the basic routing, we'll create a hello world application. Then we learn how to serve static files. And then we learn about the middleware, the application level middleware, the router level middleware, the route level middleware. And then guess what? After all this, we'll be building our task manager project with Express. And guess what? We'll be adding authentication and authorization, where a user can be able to access only the task he or she created. You can access, edit, and delete only the task you created. And what we want to build here is simply a task manager application where you can create tasks, edit your tasks, and then delete them. That's basically what we are creating. Then we ask user authentication, where you cannot be able to access your tasks, edit or delete them unless you are logged in. And you cannot be able to delete tasks unless you are logged in. That sounds interesting. But before we get there, we'll talk about Express, and then we introduce Express. And then what is Express? Oh, is it Express Way? No, it is not. Okay, so basically, Express.js is just Express. That's what we call it, Express. It's a kind of a minimal and a flexible web application framework for NodeJs, for Node.js. So it's nothing special, it's just for Node.js. And it is basically designed to simplify the process of building web applications and APIs. API is simply application programming interface. And when you see APIs, it becomes application programming interfaces. Okay. In Node.js, by providing a set of features, or like it makes things easier for you without you handling. As you can see, we handled everything manually, the delete, and it was bulky, just a simple application, and our code base was a kind of messy. And we don't want that. We want our code base clean. So Express handles this for us under the hood, and then exposes some kind of APIs for us to call and then use, something like that. So Express, it solves many problems. The routing, as you can see how we did our routing. And thank God we have our project here, we have everything. So time to time, comparing it with our Express app, and we'll see how simple Express makes things for us, how easy Express makes things for us. But then in routing, Express simplifies the process of like defining routes for your application. You can define routes for different URLs and then HTTP methods, making it easy to handle various types of requests and direct them to like different parts of your application. And then the middleware. Unfortunately, we did not implement middleware in this Node application. The reason why I did not bother implementing middleware is because your intermediate task where you implemented a middleware, and you basically have the knowledge of a middleware. And let me tell you something, in our class, I don't treat you as intermediate, I treat you as beginners, because everything I'm doing, I am basically starting from scratch. Except the JavaScript we treated, we did not start from scratch. Apart from that, the Node, the Express, everything will be starting from scratch. So I'm not treating you as intermediate, but I'm treating you as beginners, because I don't know where you learned from. I don't know what they taught you, but then I'm trying to make you understand the best practices and then how to implement, make things easy, follow the best practices, and then build the best applications you can build, offer your best services to your clients, customers, or wherever you find yourself. Or if you want to build a startup for yourself, that's fine. But then you should do the right thing when doing all of this. So the middleware functions I call concepts in Express that allow you to execute code at different points in the request response cycle. Because when the request comes in, a response goes out. So this is useful for tasks like authentication, login, error handling, and more. And we are going to implement all of those in our task manager. Just sit back and relax. Not today, but we start setting up, we learn about Express today. Then if we still have time, we set up our task manager project. And that's sweet. Okay. So now, even HTTP handling. Express provides a simple and consistent API for handling HTTP requests and responses. And it makes it easier to send responses to various like HTTP status codes, Then we set headers and then handle different types of data like JSON, HTML, and XML, and all of that. Template engines, why Express itself doesn't come with a built-in template engine. It's easy to integrate popular template engines like EJS, Handlebar, or Power to dynamically generate HTML pages on the server side, something like that. And then static file serving. Express makes it easy to serve static files like CSS, JavaScript, and images, and all of those things, which is common requirement in web applications. Then the middleware ecosystem, the modularity, the performance. When handling everything manually, you have to consider performance, and that performance is very, very crucial. So that is just Express. That's what Express does. You can go ahead and make more research and understand Express in depth. Okay. So now I don't want to speak too much English on this. Basic routing, hello world application, these 7 static files. So let's go ahead and begin. CD out, and then we will create a directory of Express, and we will enter into our Express, CD Express, like so. Oh, okay. Express, and then we will go into Express, like so. And where is our Express folder? Okay. So now the first thing is to initialize an empty package JSON in our Express folder. So we say node package manager, which is npm. It manages all the packages for Node. Node package manager initialize. Yes, we don't want to do it manually. We want you to take care of it for us. So yes, take care of this thing for us. And we have an empty package JSON file. Then we'll come here, and then let's say make it the author of KodeCamp. And the main, let's change it to source/index.js, then Express starter, something like this. Then we change something. We say type is module, like so. Okay. So what we need here is we say npm install Express. I hope this doesn't take time because the network is a kind of misbehaving. Okay, and then as you can see, we have our package log JSON, our node modules. If you open our node modules, Express uses different packages. They debug, they destroy all of this Express file handler, forwarded, fresh. Oh my God. Can I see all this? And if you open any of these, you see a bunch of module dependencies, and they even documented some. Can you see this? Link local, loop back, link local, param object request, function array or a string. Trust, then it's a public. It returns nothing. Okay, address, it's a public function that return all the addresses. That's sweet. Okay, you can go ahead and the cookie. Use strict, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be using strict in our index file so that we get access to all the errors in our file. And then create a file, create a source folder, I mean. And then we, inside our source folder, we create an index file, index.js file. And then the first thing is use strict. And I'm going to explain what use strict is. You should be able to understand what use strict does and what it is. Okay. And in here, we're just going to import express. Import express from express. So we say we create an app instance on express. We say, I hope I'm not going too fast. Basic routing. Okay. We create an instance on express and we say const app. We create an app instance on express. Express is actually an object. Const app is equal to express. Then we call express. Create an express application. The express function is a top level function exported by the express module. Can you hear that? Can you see that? That's it. Okay. Now and then we say basic routing. In routing our application, we say app dot method like this. Okay, app method, and then the path, our application path, then the handler, something like this. The method, sorry, the method here is HTTP method. It can be get, put, patch, post, or delete. And then the path here is either path, the index route. We can call it route path. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, the question I want to ask about the express. When we want to create the instance, we use app is equal to express. Can't we use app is equal to new express, or express is a single thing pattern?
No. Express requires using app is equal to express. In class, we never had time to treat classes in depth, but you are you aware that we have a static method on classes? I'm expecting an answer.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you are aware, then you understand what's going on here. Okay. We have a static method on classes. I mean, not a static method actually, but we can make a method static. Okay, and when we created this, create an express, this express function is a top level function exported by the express module. Can you see that? A top level function. If you don't know what a top level function, another research for you. In fact, software engineering is all about making researches. You learn and learn and learn. So that's it. So if you want to basic route, if you want to route your application, you simply call the app the method, because this is actually an object and we're creating an instance, an app instance of this. You can even say my app. No need to say app, any name. You can even say jargons or something like that. But saying app is simply, there is the universal convention, and it's advisable to use app so that you know what you're doing. So the app, the method it can be get, post, or whatsoever. The path can be slash or slash auth or slash auth slash person or anything you call it. Then the handler is a function that takes in a request, the response. A handler can take in 4 arguments as so. You can take in an error, the request, the response, the next function. That's it. The handler can basically take in all of this. The error, request, response. Which error, request, and response are objects? This error is an error object. The request is a request object. The response is a response object. And then the next is a function that will pass the execution context to the next function. That's when creating middlewares. We'll talk about that in a minute. So this is basically it. Now we want to access, let's see, app want to get the index route like so, and then we'll call a function that takes in request. We're not going to be doing that request of a thing. We'll make it full so that we understand everything. Request response, and then we say response send hello world, like so. And then we'll say, come up here, we'll say const port is equal to 3000. You see app listen ports. Then we take in the callback function. Then we see log server running on port. Then we see port, like so. Okay. So let's run our application and then see, say node source/index JS. Server running on port 3000. Okay, now we'll make a request. Call HTTP host 3000. Hello world. Okay, our server is running. Okay, this is sweet. And then hello world static files, serving static files. Okay. Now we have two more packages to install. We have NodeMon and we have .env. And what .env does is it allows us create environmental variables that we can use in our application, and then we keep them secret. We don't push them to GitHub or allow other people to get access to it. So we, as you can see here, or not there here, we actually installed Express as a dependency. That's, we can use it both in development and production, but we don't need .env in production, and we don't need NodeMon in production. So what we basically do is we install .env and NodeMon as development dependencies, so that when building our application, they will not be built, they will not be included in our build folder, so that our application will be faster. We only need them in development environment, because in production, where we are hosting our application, it's provide a kind of mechanism to store our environmental variables. So we don't need that. And let me tell you something so that you go prepared. In our course, sooner or later, we'll be tackling reverse proxies. We have proxies, we have forward and reverse proxies. We have load balancers, and then we have, let me not say it all, but I want you to know this. Go and take a look at networking, the 7 layers of networking, because when it comes to load balancers, we have the layer 7 load balancer and the layer 4 load balancer, and that is not for this class. I just want to make you understand. Go take a look at, explore networking for a while, because we are not just here to learn Node and Express. We are here as back-end developers, and not only back-end developers. We are going to take in DevOps, because a back-end developer without DevOps knowledge is, to me, you are 50% useless. Sorry about that, but that's just it. Okay. So now we'll install npm i.env, and then what again, NodeMon. If you want to know, we'll talk about NodeMon. What NodeMon does is it will listen to changes in the file you specified, and then, oops, I made a mistake. npm install as a development dependency. You can say that save dev, or you can just say as a development dependency in short form. So then .env and then NodeMon, like so. So let's see what happens now. Okay, and we can see our dependencies, Express, our dev dependencies, development dependency. We have .env, and then we have NodeMon. So NodeMon, we listen to changes in the file you specified. So if there's any changes in that file, your application will restart automatically. We don't have to go back and then stop your application and then restart it. And that makes development faster. So we'll have we have the start command, which is node /index.js. And then we have the development command here. Dev, which is nodemon /index.js, comma, like so. So now if you run npm run dev, now if you run npm run start, our application will start. That's cool. But then if we make any changes here, let's say we uncomment this like this, if we make any changes, nothing will happen because we have to restart our application. But then if we use nodemon, like npm run dev, okay, nodemon is starting our application. To restart at any time, enter rs, watching paths. It's watching all the paths, watching extensions, JS, MJS, JS, JSON, everything is watching everything. So the starting is nodes. Then let's try to make a change here and then save it. Can you see? Restarting due to changes. And that is awesome. App crashed because this does not have any meaning. It will crash our application, definitely. So we comment it out and then we start the application again. Our application is up and running. We don't need to restart anything. Just make changes, save it, and you are good to go. So now we import .env from .env, and then we'll come down here, we see .env.config. Now we're not passing in any options, the path or the whatsoever. We're not passing any options. But then what we're doing here is we'll come here in the root folder, the root path or root directory or root folder of application. We'll just create a new file and call it .env, like so. And then we say port is equal to 3000. Just like that. Then you come down to your source here, and then you say consport is equal to process.env.port, like so. And then server is running on ports. Okay, stop the server again, and then run it. npm run dev. Oops, we're still getting server is running on port undefined process.env port. Okay, sometimes it behaves strange. Oh, this .env of a team. Or we see this import. Okay. Export process.env port or 3000 if in case it is undefined. Then we run it again. 3000. Okay, that's it. Sometimes you may get some kind of errors. Sometimes it may work in development. And that's it for that. Okay, so basically we've learned how to route our application basically, and hello world. We created the basic hello world application, and then next we're not going to be learning how to serve static files in this class, but in our next class we learn how to serve static files, and then we learn how to implement application level middlewares, router level middlewares, and then route level middlewares, and then what their differences are and how they basically work. And then let's say we have here, we see test, then our application restarts, and then we make our request to /test. Then we'll see our hello world. Can you see that? Then we'll come back, see, we remove test, and we'll see what we're getting. We're getting a basic HTML file. Cannot get this. That's it. Because we're not handling this. But we learn Express. What we're going to be doing is we learn the basics of Express, and then we learn the basics of middleware in Express. And then when we start building our application, the advanced things, we will implement them, discuss them, and then practice them. just how we're going to be learning basically, because that's how Express works. I think that's all for today. We've implemented this, and then we've built a Hello World application, and then Express Node modules and all of that. We also have other packages to use, but not here. Here we're just going to be learning about all of this, and then middlewares, and then all of that. So here we stop our server. Let me see. Okay. Git branch. I made a mistake. Git branch. Does that show current? We're seeing our task manager. Okay, so git checkout branch, and then cs slash feature of express data, because later we'll say express task manager also, like so. And then we say git add everything. You say git commit. The feature here is express starter, like so. And if you say git push, it will not, but you give an option, git push dash set upstream origin, then the branch name, like so, because we don't have like and so. And this is sweet. Oh, we made a mistake. We're supposed to specify a .git ignore in our project here. Git ignore, that to add our node modules and anything we don't want to push to GitHub. That is the reason why it's writing more than what we want. But that's, by the way, we start building our applications, we do that. Okay, so that's it for today's class. We can go ahead and add node modules. But right now it will not work because we're already tracking our node modules folder. We'll have to then remove that from the cache, from the Git cache before then we push it again or something. But I'm not going to do that. Go and learn how to do it by yourself. We've already done this. Try to create an application, push it to GitHub with your node modules, then try to remove Git tracking to the node modules. You don't want to push your node modules to your this thing. So, and then we'll add even .env. We're not supposed to push it. So go and learn that all by yourself. Okay, so we've come to the end of this class, and I believe you learned a lot. Any questions so far? And if there are no questions, today's lesson was quite awesome, and those that did not attend, they missed a lot, because if you don't attend and while watching, you may have some questions to ask, but then that's where you come to Discord and then you start asking questions. But that's fine. So, okay, chat. Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. And that's it for today. Do I have anything to say? I want you to, okay, after this class, I will create a basic task for you to at least practice the node task, the task application we just implemented. I will create another task for you to basically learn how you can play around with Node. Okay. Thank you, and we'll see in our next class, which is next week, Tuesday. Thank you.